of the war in Ukraine. So all of these challenges, the younger generation of students will have to be facing, and all of these problems of climate change, water scarcity, inequality, and hunger are being dropped in the laps of the young generation. And these can only be resolved at a global level and by promoting sustainable development, a commitment to social progress, environmental balance, and economic growth. So the United Nations approved the 2030 Agenda, which contains the goals, and it's called a call to action to protect the planet and generate and guarantee the global well-being of all people. And maybe we should add in there all species, because we're also facing extinction of animals. And in India, the extinction of your lions, your tigers, and some of your elephants. When I was up in Uttarakhand, I was in Rishikesh, and that's part of a Rajaji National Forest. I also went to the Corbett National Park in India. So you have a lot of animal species, including some of these monkey species, that are being managed, and that's another resource. So animals, we are talking about saving some of the species of animals, particularly the tigers and the elephants. So it's not just people, it's also the animals and even the fish. These common goals require the active involvement of all individuals, businesses, administrations, and world governments, including India. And so India, this conference here at TIMSS is part of the Indian government's efforts to focus on sustainable development. And that's one of the reasons I came to you back in 2010, because India was doing this conference and the United States was only beginning to get more involved in it. And so here we are 12 years later in 2022, and we're still talking about this and promoting it. Hopefully there will be more progress. There has been a lot of progress. So environmental sustainability, this prevents nature from being used as an inexhaustible source of resources and ensures its protection and rational use. And aspects such as conservation, investment in renewable energy, saving water, supporting sustainable mobility, and innovation in sustainable construction and architecture. So some of these areas include solar energy and wind energy. That's called renewable energy. That's being expanded, solar energy and renewable energy like wind. All of that's increasing in the world. At the same time, we're trying to reduce our dependence on oil. And that's what we're doing with developing electric vehicles, electric cars, electric trucks. And I noticed yesterday when we were driving around, there were so many electric vehicles. And so there's more and more electric vehicles on the road. And that means you can save a lot of money because the gasoline is getting so expensive. So of course, we're trying to promote sustainable mobility, which really means in terms of vehicles like cars and so on. So the environmental sustainability, the United Nations has 17 sustainable development goals that I mentioned. The first one is to eradicate world poverty and hunger, guaranteeing a healthy life for all people. Second, access to basic services such as water, sanitation, and sustainable energy. And so even in countries such as in Africa, where they haven't developed, large use of gas and oil, in some ways, they're in a better position to transition to renewable sources. So particularly in countries that are developing countries, this is an opportunity to make the right choices toward solar energy, toward wind energy, toward electric vehicles, and protecting their environment and reducing some of the environmental impacts. Another of the goals of the United Nations is inclusive education and decent work. And some of these so-called green technologies, we have one in the United States, an initiative for green technologies. They do provide good job opportunities. Now, the thing about the United States is you might think that it's now the United States of Amazon, because Amazon as a corporation is so huge, and it's almost a monopoly. It's growing very fast. And where I live, there are gigantic Amazon warehouses, and Amazon's doing everything now. They're in entertainment, they're in all kinds of endeavors. And so I would say to the students, think about supply chain management, because Amazon's made its fortune on supply chain management. And if there's some way you can develop environmental, sustainable supply chain management, you can make a lot of money like Amazon has done. So the fourth United Nations goal is to foster innovation and resilient infrastructures, create cities and communities to produce and consume sustainably. I know that in the United Arab Emirates, they've developed one city that is based completely on sustainability principles. So that's an interesting idea, that you could develop entire cities that are green, and green buildings, and in architecture. So this is something the students can think about in the future, is that you want to design your buildings and your cities to be sustainable. And a fifth goal in the United Nations is to reduce inequality in the world, especially gender inequality. And so that's important for men and women to be treated equally, and for women to have, in India it's called women empowerment. And in India, there are more and more women students who are in engineering and science. So that's important for gender equality. And then the sixth principle is to care for the environment, combating climate change. So climate change is one of the major reasons we want to have sustainability. And we can't have a reduction in CO2 unless we go to some of these green energy sources. So I wanted to say a few comments related to what's happening in the world, because you cannot have sustainable management or sustainability when there is massive conflict and war. So I looked up some resources on how does conflict and war impact sustainable development. Well, you can see it right now if you watch CNN or any of the Western media, BBC or any of the news coverage, that what war does, it completely destroys a country, and it really damages the environment, plus killing so many people. And so right now we're at the brink. We're at the brink of a possible World War III. Now, if you're looking at that rationally, that's incredibly frightening. That's frightening to think that the world is in this condition. And of course, war destroys lives. You have, of course, people in war-torn countries, they're leaving, they become immigrants, they have to leave their homes, they have to flee to other countries. So they have difficulty of accessing healthcare and education, of course. There's incredible environmental degradation. And, in the Ukraine is a huge area where there's food production for the world. So worldwide food prices are going up because of this terrible war in the Ukraine. And it increases poverty. So war is not helpful at all for sustainable development. And so if everyone in the young generation needs to focus on peace, on how can we establish world peace. And in India, I've been up in Uttarakhand, and there are new roads that go up to Tibet, to the Chinese border. And I can tell you that the reason the Indian government is building the new roads up to the Chinese border is because India and China have army bases up there. There are large army bases from India and China on the border between India and China. And of course, you also have the border between Pakistan and India. So India has to worry about war. You have to also worry about conflicts, especially with Pakistan. And so this is something that includes every country in the world when you're talking about military. And so one of the things young students can look into is, how does the military impact the environment? And so I started looking up some of the ways in which the military impacts the environment in a bad way. And one of the things that is happening is that so much of the economic resources of the world are being spent on the military, especially in the United States. And I have to say that so much of our tax money and so on goes into into supporting the military. And so that's the last thing I wanted to say. And that the military apparently is not helping with the CO2 emissions. This is a field of research that some of your students in India can look into, because it involves all the different sciences and engineering for sure. A lot of engineers are hired into what we call the military industrial complex. I've worked in it for years, and I've been a nuclear engineer for years. I have been to the nuclear laboratories, and I even when I was a college student, I even worked at Lawrence Livermore Laboratory, and I saw part of an atomic bomb. We were actually measuring radiation levels off an atomic bomb. And so I have a lot of personal experience with the nuclear side of things. And one of the reasons I'm so interested in the nuclear war scenario is because of my background as a nuclear engineer. So this is a field that the future generations are going to have to deal with. You cannot walk away from the possibility of nuclear war outbreaking at any moment. And in my personal opinion, right now, we're in a very tenuous time as NATO and Russia are facing off. This is not a good time for the world. This is very frightening. So I'm bringing it up in this conference because the young generation, you're going to have to solve more than climate change. You also are going to have to solve all the problems with world conflict. In order to have sustainable development and sustainable management, you have to do something about all of this conflict in the world. And if I was a young engineer or scientist right now, I would be focusing on that. I would focus all of my future endeavors on how do we achieve world peace? How do we achieve sustainable management of our resources when so much of our resources are going into the military? And as I love the state of Uttarakhand. I know that you're in Madhya Pradesh, but Uttarakhand in the Himalayas is a very special state. And I've gone up to Badrinath. I've been up to some of the higher temples in the mountains. And Uttarakhand is experiencing a lot of environmental damage. But part of that was when they started building all these roads. They apparently now you can get to Rishikesh from Delhi in 3 hours by car. And that was hurting the elephant populations. So the young generation, you have so much to do. You're going to have to solve world peace. You're going to have to solve climate change. You're going to have to solve all the problems, because 2030 is only 8 years from now. And by 2050, there's some pretty bad forecasts for world climate change and how it's going to impact everything. So I hope the human race is still here by 2030 and 2050. So we hope for the best. We're all praying for peace. And we're hoping that this horrible war can end in the Ukraine. So that's all of my comments for today. And I wish you all well, all of you very smart students in India. I always say with Dr. Ram, when we speak to Indian students, you have the smartest students in the world. You're going to have to solve all these problems. And I think Indian students are the ones to solve them. So thank you very much. Pranam.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Carol, for giving a nice talk on sustainable management and the present era. Really, it was a very burning topic, that is sustainable management, and you have very beautifully told about the processes of sustainable management, especially for the Indian conditions also. Already you have touched the management techniques that throughout world they are taking. You have very well elaborated that things, and taking the examples of Europe also, what is happening in Ukraine, that is also you have covered very beautifully. You have very beautifully told that sustainable management is needed because it is an important part of the ability to successfully maintain the quality of life on this planet. And this can be achieved by applying it to our lives, on all aspects of our lives. It can be, if we can apply it in all aspects of our life, that it can be easily achieved. If we see that our personal lives also needs to be managed sustainably, and this can be done by making the decision that will help to sustain our immediate surroundings in the environment. So thank you, Dr. Caroline, for giving a very nice talks once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now the session is open for the queries. If anybody is having queries, you just write it down in the chat box, and I will just ask Dr. Caroline for these queries. Due to shortage of time, only 2 or 3 questions will be taken. If anybody is having queries, kindly write it in the chat box. Okay, in the meantime, I have a very simple query, Dr. Caroline. What can a common person can do for development to be more sustainable?
Well, that's a very good question. And I think all of us as individuals, as you said, we need to examine our own life. And one thing you can do is, possibly India is a leader in this, is vegetarian lifestyle. Eating vegetables and not eating a lot of meat, because especially for red meat, like from beef and that kind of thing, they take so much of the resources. So it will reduce the CO2 if also you become a vegetarian. So that's one of the things you can do, is just increase your consumption of vegetables. And that will help your health also. That's a good thing to do because we're in the COVID pandemic, is to become more vegetarian. So Indian culture, you already are ahead in that regard. And in the West, there are many of us who are vegetarians and are becoming more involved with vegetarians. So if you can support your local farmers, I know in India there's many beautiful villages. You can support those farmers in doing organic farming. And I think in India, you're a leader in organic farming also already. So anything you can do in your own personal lifestyle, that's one thing I should comment on, because a lot of my Indian students were starting to eat at McDonald's and they were starting to eat at Pizza Hut. That's not the way to go. You should stay with the food your grandmothers cooked for you. I always tell Indian students, what you can do is just maintain your own culture. maintain your own food culture, and in a lot of ways, you already are supporting the environment by being vegetarians, by avoiding the fast food. So when I go to India, I'm kind of upset when I see so much McDonald's, so much Pizza Hut, and it's the young Indians who are eating it. The grandparents that I stay with, the grandmothers are still cooking with vegetables. The grandmothers of India are trying to sustain and maintain the Indian culture. So a lot of what Indian students can do is just spread your culture. And, you know, many Indian students I know are very good cooks. They come to the United States and they're cooking Indian food at the campuses. And that's a good example for all the students here that are eating hamburgers and beef. So the Indian students, when they come to the United States, they're ambassadors of Indian culture, and they are wonderful. Most of them are, they even had an Indian cooking class on my campus that the Indian students promoted. So I think Indians are already doing so much in your lifestyles. It's mainly those of us in the West. We need to change our lifestyles because we are too much into material consumption. And so as Indians, you're already ahead. I think you're ahead in your personal lifestyles, ahead of the people in the West.
Thank you very much, Dr. Caroline. There is one more question from Shantanu Pratap Singh. He's just asking that what is the role of soil in sustainable development?
Soil?
What is the role of soil in sustainable development?
Soil?
Yeah, soil.
SOIL. Okay. I want to make sure I understood the question. Well, you know, organic farming is the way to go. We have now more and more organic farming in the US and organic food. But in India, you already have this. So what's the role of soil is to maintain your soil and make sure that for future generations, you can generate as much food as possible. But India has one of the, I mean, India, especially southern India, you have 4 growing seasons. And so you already have soil in India that's the part of the best in the world. What amazes me is when I'm in Uttarakhand and I see all those mountain villages, they have terraces. And the generations of people who've been farming in India, it's endless. So yes, you need to maintain your soil and continue to do what you've been doing and make it sustainable so that future generations of Indians will have sufficient food. The other thing I might mention on that area is that you have so many species of rice and so many types of vegetables and fruits. We don't have Mosambie juice in the United States. And when I first came to India, I was introduced to Mosambie juice, which is very good for your health. So you're already blessed with so many fruits and vegetables and grains, so many types of rice. So you just maintain what you've been doing and don't go to monoculture. You know, you want to have a diversity of plants. And that's, India's already been doing this for centuries. So in a way, organic farming will help. And if you continue that, you maintain your soil. But I guess that's what I could say about that topic.
One more query is there from Mr. Ranjit Singh. He is just asking that the sustainable development can affect the life culture and health issues.
It can what? Let me repeat that.
Okay. He's just asking that does sustainable development can affect the life culture and health?
Oh yes, that's what I was saying. We are in the middle of a COVID pandemic, and so your health is more important than ever. We're meeting here on Zoom because of the COVID pandemic. And so, yes, sustainability means that you should try to maintain your own health. And that's why I'm telling the young Indians, You already have your grandmothers telling you what to do. Take your turmeric and take all your Ayurvedic drugs and Ayurvedic herbs. This is going worldwide, you know, Ayurvedic products and your Tulsi tea and all of these things, the ginger lemon tea. When I was in Rishikesh, every morning I would have ginger lemon tea. And so there's so much you can do to maintain your own health. How it relates to sustainability is that you are managing your own lifestyle in a sustainable way. So think about, yes, you can apply these concepts of sustainability in your own life. And avoid, I would say, avoid products which are requiring a lot of plastic and a lot of other materials that are not natural. You know, the plastic bottles that you buy for the water, for purified water, they are a problem in terms of disposal. So if you can reduce your use of plastic, that would help.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Caroline, once again, on behalf of the organizing committee of ITM University and TIMS organizers. I really thank you very much for giving us time and giving us very good lecture on sustainable management. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pranam.
Now, our next speaker is Dr. Ram Sharma. May I request the organizers, or he will directly
Thank you, Professor Rakesh Bhutani. I invite Professor Ram Sharma, our next eminent guest, and he is an accomplished poet and writer both in English and Hindi in the field of literature. He has added many feathers to this cap, and beside this, his work has appeared in such web journals like Muse India, Literary India. His poems are showing presence in the foreign e-journals. He has edited 32 anthologies, books in the English literature. With the utmost respect, I invite Professor Ram Sharma for the next plenary lecture. Over to you, sir. Yes, sir. Unmute yourself. Sir, any problem? Hello. Yes, sir. Sir, am I audible to you? Yeah.
Yeah,
Now.
am I audible?
Yeah. Now.
Previously, it was showing the message host is not allowing.
Okay.
So, ma'am, you should check at your end.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely.
And thank you very much, Professor Caroline Heising. I thank you. You have a very serious heart stroke.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, Dr.
in spite of my request, you came here, you delivered a lecture, although your health was not allowing you. But we people have become so insensitive after Corona. We even don't ask how are you. So it's my really gratitude to you. It's your love for Gwalior, it's your love for India that you came, and you have been unconscious for 3 days. And it's your new life. I was just discussing, and all of a sudden I was muted by the host. So I'm really very grateful that you came here in this ITM University conference and you addressed the students And my lecture is upon nature. I'm really thankful to Dr. Yogesh Goswami ji and Shivom Singh ji, and we have a very long lasting connection with ITM universe from more than a decade.
Yes, sir.
And I think it is your love towards Gwalior or ITM universe that you have not denied. Although I can feel the pain that after the serious heart stroke, you address the gathering more than 45 minutes. So we Indians are really indebted to you, and you always considered India as your home, and you always
Yes.
guided. You always delivered lectures, and whenever I requested you, you always be prepared with your enlightened thoughts. So first of all, I'm really
Thank
grateful
you.
and thankful to you
Thank you,
that
Dr. Ram. Thank you, Dr. Ram.
pray for your health. It's our duty that you live longer and to keep on thinking
Well,
good
that's
about India.
obviously one thing that has resulted is that I'm here with you again. It's
Yeah,
not
I can feel
my
it.
time to go yet.
can-
I think my guru has me here.
Yeah, but I'm starting. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I would like to start my talk with the quotation written by US biologist Thomas Lovejoy. He is a professor of environment science at George Mason University. And what he said in the newspaper The Guardian, that intrusion into nature led to pandemic. We have intruded in nature in such an amount that we do not know. We have become so senseless, so heartless, so brute, and we have become so modern that that intrusion has taken us into the pandemic. Okay, and then what he said, the illegal wildlife trade and humanity's excessive intrusion into nature is to blame the coronavirus pandemic. Still, we are facing the same challenges. We can feel happy. We can post on Facebook like this. We have been vaccinated. We have taken 2 booster dose or first booster dose or 2 vaccines, second dose of the vaccination. But when I was just checking few days ago, air quality index in India, in the major cities of India, and I think it's for the new students, you also check the air quality index. Air quality index means fresh oxygen. I was surprised to know all the major cities in India, they are having air quality index between 150 to 350. Only few cities like Bangalore, they might have maintained its sanitary system and other things, or there might be some kind of people might be well aware that there is only 60. The air quality index is 60, it should be 50. I also checked the air quality index of China. There, China has controlled the air quality index. In all the major cities of China, it is maintained around 50, and it should be around 50. In America and US, I also checked the air quality index there. I found it is between 30 to 35, all the major cities. But here in India, we are having the air quality index between 150 to 350. My simple question is that when we don't have the fresh air to breathe, we don't have the fresh water to drink, what we can do in this in terms of sustainable management. Though I like the topic of the seminar, innovation, technology, and management of the sustainable management. But I belong to a literature field. To quote William Wordsworth. William Wordsworth has written in his poem, "The world is too much with us." ये संसार हमारे सामने हमेशा रहता है. कैसे कमाना है, कैसे खर्च करना है. The poem is, "The world is too much with us." The world is too much with us. Getting and spending, we lay waste our powers. Little we see in nature that is ours. We have given our hearts away. हमने अपने हृदय दे दिए हैं. किसमें? सिर्फ पैसा कमाना और पैसा खर्च करना. इसके अलावा हमारी कोई एक्टिविटी नहीं रह गई है. Even Bill Gates has warned that more serious variants of coronavirus can come in the future months. So there is also one more article written by Zain Goodall in The Guardian, and its summary is: humanity will be finished if we fail to drastically change our food system in response to the coronavirus pandemic and the climate crisis. She blamed the emergence of COVID-19 on the over-exploitation of the natural world, which has seen forests cut down, species made extinct, and natural habitat destroyed. I'm quoting from that article. We have brought this on ourselves because of our absolute disrespect for animals and the environment, our disrespect for wild animals, and our disrespect for farmed animals has created this situation where disease can spill over to infect human beings. Again, in the same article, it is written, if we do not do things differently, we are finished. We can't go on very much longer like this. She called for the people to think, to lift themselves, to ponder. It's not keep on just like ostrich. जैसे ostrich अपनी गर्दन रेत में दबा लेता और सोचता है कि सब ठीक चल रहा है, उस prospect से हमें बाहर निकलना पड़ेगा. The wealthy should put pressure on the leaders and take care over what they buy to avoid adding to the problem. We have got to stop buying their products of companies that use factory farming and that exploit nature. Nature क्या है? Nature, अगर हम अपने ऋषि मुनियों की कॉन्सेप्ट देखें, उन्होंने क्या दिया है? सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः है कि सभी लोग खुश रहें. वसुधैव कुटुंबकम्, और वो होल वर्ल्ड इज अ फैमिली. और उन्होंने भगवान शब्द दिया है. क्या है भगवान? भय से भूमि, गै से गगन, वा से वायु, न से नीर. ये सब नेचर ही तो है. They learned us. They have created the reverence for nature, and that is called भगवान. गंगा जैसी पवित्र नदी शायद किसी देश में नहीं है, लेकिन आज हम नदियों का महत्व ही भूल गए हैं, भगवान को ही भूल गए हैं. आज हम इतने मॉडर्न हो गए हैं कि अपने भगवान खुद बन गए हैं. Next, I would like to quote from the same magazine, EcoWatch. And here the summary is: future pandemics are on the horizon if mankind does not stop it. I am quoting from the article. There is single species that is responsible for COVID-19 pandemic is us, ourselves, human beings. As with the climate and biodiversity crisis, recent pandemics are a direct consequence of human activity, particularly our global financial and economic systems based on a limited paradigms that prizes economic growth at any cost. We have a small window of opportunity in overcoming the challenge of the current crisis to avoid sowing the seeds of future ones. A report on biodiversity and ecosystem: 1 million species of plants and animals are at the risk of extinction within decades. कुछ तो गायब हो गई हैं और कुछ 1 लाख से भी ज्यादा है जो प्रजातियां हैं वो विलुप्त होने की श्रेणी में होती जा रही हैं. Government needs to sustainable and nature positive initiatives. Greed for allowing microbes that lead to novel diseases to jump from animals to humans. It is the time to relax environmental standards and to prop up industries such as intensive agriculture, long distance transportation. I am also quoting from the same article. Rampant deforestation, uncontrolled expansion of agriculture, mining and infrastructure development, as well as exploitation of wild species have created a perfect storm for spread of disease from wildlife to people, unquote. 1.7 million unidentified viruses known to infect people are estimated to extinct in mammals and water birds. Any of these may be more disruptive and lethal than COVID-19. That's the same warning as given by Bill Gates already, that any virus can be more lethal than this COVID-19. And we are living in this air quality index that is more than 150. Even such cities like Haridwar or Rishikesh, they are having AQI more than 150. It's really a thing to be thinking in what kind of environment we are living. हमारे लिए यही है कि पेड़ क्या देते हैं, पेड़ क्या प्रजाति है। एक छोटी सी कविता मैंने लिखी है, आओ सीखें प्रकृति की भाषा, आओ सीखें प्रकृति की भाषा, सामंजस्य की समझ, जीने की कला, आओ सीखें प्रकृति से गीत, नदी में संगीत, झरने से बहना, फूलों से स्निग्धता, पर माना हुई पूरे ब्रह्मांड को कर रहा है प्रदूषित, और इंसानियत तोड़ रही है दम। ये गुलमोहर है, इन्हें देखो प्यार से, अब तो फूलों में भी कांटों का डर होता है। The thing is that nature is the God, nature ही क्या है, भगवान है। Then there might be some initiatives from the part of the government choosing policies and actions that protect nature so that nature can help to protect us. Human imprisonment on a natural habitat, biodiversity loss, and ecosystem degradation are making virus spillover events much more likely. There is another environment scientist, Joachim Spangenberg, is an ecologist and vice president of the Sustainable Europe Research Institute. I am quoting from him. He is saying, we are creating this situation, not the animals. By disrupting ecosystem, we have created this condition. As people move further into the territories of wild animals to clear forest, raise livestock, hunt, and extract resources, we are increasingly exposed to the pathogens that normally never leave these places and the bodies they inhabited. Previously, we have seen such viruses like Zika, HIV, AIDS, swine flu, Ebola, but we keep on sleeping and we're thinking these are just viruses. One virus is coming, another virus is also coming, and we are not thinking what is the problem and where is the problem. We are not tried to innovate anything, so innovate any ideas. Example of the emergence of Nipah virus in Malaysia in the late 1990s, where deforestation drove fruit bats from their forest habitat to mango trees, and from mango trees to pigs, and from pigs to human beings. Bats often carry pathogens that don't bother them, but in this case, the pigs came into contact with bat droppings and the saliva, they became infected. Health of animals, the ecosystem, we are interlinked. If we have destroyed nature, we are supposed to be destroyed by nature in the coming time. The wet markets incubator for the emergence of infectious disease. This is a strong possibility. SARS-CoV-19 emerged at a wet market in Wuhan, China. Spangenberg says strict regulations for live animal markets. I am again quoting, we are part of nature, we are part of this ecosystem where our health is linked to the health of wildlife and the health of the environment. Rising temperature are damaging corals in Australia, and intense cyclones and warm water has caused extensive damage in recent years. And we have seen Great California fires from the previous years. Many people understand and support emotional responses from scientists to what they study happening in the environment. Others dismiss it as being oversensitive, unprofessional, or letting their emotions getting in their way. Preventing pandemics, global warming, and environmental degradation. According to CNN, the Earth and its inhabitants face 3 global crises. The first is pandemic crisis we are facing. The other one is climate crisis we are facing, and another one is biodiversity crisis. These massive global challenges, the destructive relationship between humanity and natural world. According to New York Times, climate economist Gernot Wagner has linked the pandemic to the climate change. Again, New York Times has said that is due to the climate change, or we have overexploited nature. It is due to that. And you can check your phones for air quality index, and who is responsible for that, you can understand it there. Scientists use the term zoonosis, refer to the infectious diseases like COVID-19 that spread from animals to humans, and from humans, this becomes pandemic. People continue to place increased pressure on the Earth's remaining biodiversity. Activities like wildlife trade, deforestation, cutting of trees in the name of building the roads, and even Caroline Heising has shown us the war that is also for controlling the natural resources, to grab the natural resources in the name of war. Humanity encroaches further into nature. People have a greater chance of coming into contact with new pathogens carried by animals. Practicing ecosystem from human encroachment helps maintain biodiversity and mitigate climate change. Nations that sign, there are many treaties like conventions on climate, Paris Convention, and scientists go there and there are talks, and the developing countries, they blame on the developing countries that they are the responsible for this global warming or climate increasing temperature. So it's not the time to just blame or just like ostrich approach. It's time to make yourself aware, just like Lord Hanuman has forgotten his power. It's time for us to think that it is our responsibility to not only to plant the trees, but to care the nature. It's our duty now. The real problem is that Mahatma Gandhi has said that is always enough for man's need upon this earth, but there is not always enough for his greed. This is the increasing greed. If you go to the mall, you find so many qualities of clothes, shoes, eatable materials. So we have to control our greeds. Even Mahatma Gandhi has said a wonderful quotation that is very true in the present context. He has said that if you start a new work or innovation, the people will laugh at you. वे हंसेंगे आपके ऊपर. Then they will criticize you. आपके निंदा करेंगे. Then they will fight with you. आपके साथ लड़ाई लड़ेंगे. And then you will win. उसके बाद आपकी जीत होगी. ये 3 stages हैं which you have to pass. They will laugh at you. They will criticize you. They will fight with you, and then you will win. I would like to quote. I correlate this nature, the human nature. Our rishis have been the real. They have given the innovative ideas, and they have given the technology of Sarve Bhavantu Sukhine. And our rishis have given this concept of peace. Let there be peace everywhere. Prithviya Santi, Antariksha Santi, Vanaspataya Santi. कि पृथ्वी पे भी शांति हो, वनस्पति में भी शांति हो, अंतरिक्ष में भी शांति हो. They were the real innovations. They have given the real innovations for us. और हम विश्व में आज जाके देखें किसी भी राष्ट्र में तो इतने फूलों की प्रजाति नहीं मिलेंगी, इतनी फलों की प्रजाति नहीं मिलेंगी. इतने जो मौसमी फल हैं, ये सब हमारे हेल्थ के लिए उन्होंने बनाए, जिससे हम हमारी हेल्थ सुरक्षित रहे, हम स्वस्थ रहें और इसी प्रकार हम प्रसन्न रहें. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, कि सभी लोग स्वस्थ रहें, प्रसन्न रहें. ये उन्होंने कॉन्सेप्ट. They were the real, not only innovators. They have given technology. They have taught us to manage our life. They have taught us the art of living. But here in the more modern present world, we have forgotten this art of living. We are just fighting for our existence. We are fighting for our existence. We are fighting this battle for our existence. आज मैं देखता हूँ हमारे घरों के पास मंदिर नहीं मिलेंगे. आज हमारे घरों के पास मेडिकल स्टोर्स और मल्टी स्पेशलिटी नर्सिंग होम्स खुल गए हैं और हम कह रहे हैं कि हम तो मॉडर्न हो गए. क्या वो 30 साल पहले वो प्रगति थी जब हम इतने स्वस्थ थे, इतने प्रसन्न थे कि हमें किसी डॉक्टर की जरूरत नहीं थी, हमें किसी मेडिकल स्टोर की जरूरत नहीं थी? या आज हम प्रसन्न हैं या स्वस्थ हैं जब हमारे घरों के पास मेडिकल स्टोर्स और हाथ में घड़ियों में भी हमारे पास सारे हेल्थ चेकअप और ये सब चीजें आ गई हैं. इसी में स्वामी रामा की एक बुक है, मैं इससे जरूर कोट करना चाहूंगा, होलिस्टिक हेल्थ से. इसका जो पहला पैरा है, हालांकि ये पुस्तक 50 वर्ष पूर्व लिखी गई, लेकिन इसका जो पैरा है वो मुझे हमेशा अभी की प्रेजेंट वर्ल्ड की याद दिलाता है. Our modern civilization claims to be very productive, creative and resourceful, but 100 years ago we did not have many of the diseases. 100 साल पहले इतनी बीमारियां नहीं थी that exist today जितनी आज हैं. Every day more diseases are being created. हर रोज नई बीमारी पैदा हो रही है. For although we are alive, the majority of us experience only the art of existing. हमारी जो लड़ाई चल रही है वो आर्ट ऑफ एग्जिस्टिंग से चल रही है. Very few of us have really cultivated that technique which is called the art of living. The reason for this is that life today has become very artificial. Man never stops to consider that he may have gone too far by ignoring his natural resources and by depending on artificial means. Living by artificial means gradually decreases natural resistance, and by this obsession makes modern man suffer more and more. Man's whole life seems to be kept busy in trying to get rid of self-created suffering. पूरी उम्र बीत जाती है इस लड़ते लड़ते, कभी ये बीमारी, कभी वो बीमारी, कभी ये नई दवाई आ गई, कभी वो नई दवाई आ गई, और ये कैसी सफरिंग है? self-created suffering. Is there nothing higher for human beings to obtain than freedom from these ailments? ये जो आर्ट ऑफ एग्जिस्टेंस की लड़ाई चल रही है, आर्ट ऑफ लिविंग तक कैसे पहुंचेगी, और हम पुनः कैसे सीख पाएंगे कि हमारा जीवन का उद्देश्य क्या है? एक कविता इसी अवसर पे पढ़ना चाहूंगा। प्रगति एक छलावा, जीने की चाह में हम कहां से कहां तक चले गए। सोचा तो था जीवन का आरंभ, पर यहाँ तो हर पल चले गए। हमने सहा है और पाया है, जीवन है बहुरूपिया। हम जिसको समझते रहे उन्नति अब तक, वह है केवल छलावा आंकड़ों का। समझने में ही हमसे कुछ भूल हुई है, वास्तविक प्रगति अब भी मानव से बहुत दूर है। जीवन थोड़ा है पर काम बहुत, अब ऐसे में आराम कहाँ? चलने का नाम है जिंदगी, रुकने का फिर काम कहाँ? आओ बैठे नदी किनारे, गीत पुराने फिर दोहराएं, प्रकृति की स्वप्निल नगरी में मन के सोए तार जगाएं। अभी मेरा कल डिस्कशन हो रहा था कि आदमी जो है लाइफ में परमानेंट ढूंढता है कि लाइफ जो है परमानेंट एक ही तरह चलती रहे। तो मेरा तो प्रश्न ये है कि मेडिकल टर्म में अगर एक क्वेश्चन है, अगर सीधी लाइन है तो वो क्या है? लाइफ तो हमेशा ऐसे रहती है, जिगजैग, जिगजैग लाइफ, स्ट्रेट लाइन डेथ। तो यही है प्रश्न आपसे, व्हेन लाइफ इज टेम्परेरी व्हाट एल्स कैन बी परमानेंट। इसी अवसर पे मैं अपनी एक कविता अंग्रेजी की पढ़ना चाहूंगा, लैम्प ऑफ लव नामक पुस्तक से, और ये पॉजिटिव नोट के साथ है। वर्ल्ड विल चेंज विद योर लाफ, आपकी हंसी मुस्कान से नजरिया बदल जाएगा संसार का, आपको देखने का, और आपका भी नजरिया बदल जाएगा संसार के प्रति। लेकिन वो हंसी जो है सैडिस्टिक ना हो, आपके अंदर से उत्पन्न हो। The dark night will disappear within a glittering dawn. The world will change with your laugh. Open all your eyes with positivity. The ferocious storm will change into a cool breeze. The flowers of feeling will open and blossom. The vines of love will ever grow strong. Consciousness of prayers shines upon the darkness of night. The dark night will disappear within a glittering dawn. The world will change with your laugh. Am I audible? I'm asking in between.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I would like to recite one more poem from the same poetry collection. Its title is, just a moment. Title is Awake, Smile a while with me now. थोड़ा सा समय निकालिए अपने आप से मुस्कुराने का, अपने आप से बात करने का. In a pensive mood, we crave to travel thousands of miles. We do not need roads, but we just want life's tender smile. When we are amidst problems within strife, flying all around, as darkness easily abounds, where no friend is easily found, we should just smile inside for holding on a little while, where life has turned so tight and tough. When all efforts come appearing to turn so wild, we just need our deepening in a little drop of a sweet smile. Wherever life becomes so confusing and even uptight, when light has grown dim and works begins to bite, we just need our dearest inside a sweet little drop of a smile. Smile a while with me now. हमारे ऋषि मुनियों ने जो इनोवेशन दी है, जो टेक्नोलॉजी दी है हमें, जो सनातन सभ्यता दी है, आज वही हमारा मार्गदर्शन करेगी। ये कैरोलिन हाइजिंग प्रोफेसर आयोवा स्टेट यूनिवर्सिटी पहले ही कह चुकी हैं, और मैं भी एक अपना पर्सनल अनुभव शेयर करना चाहूंगा। In 2019 I was in Stanford University. Both were there for a conference, and all of a sudden we saw a flyer that Stanford University has developed eco-friendly houses or eco-friendly houses. I curious that I should go there. What USA has developed eco-friendly houses, and you will be laugh at me. क्या चीज थी वो जो हम वर्षों पहले बहुत दूर छोड़ आए हैं? मिट्टी की गारे की दीवारें, छप्पर और लकड़ी की थैच, ये उनके इको फ्रेंडली हाउसेस थे जो हमें भुला दिए गए अंधविश्वास के नाम पे, थर्ड वर्ल्ड कंट्री के नाम पे। आज वही चीजें अपना रहे हैं क्योंकि हमारी सनातन सभ्यता संस्कृति में प्रकृति को हमने भगवान माना, वैसे भूमि जैसे गगन वासे वायु नैसे नीर। And we always have respect for rivers, we have always respect for mountains, and there is not a word in our Vedas or Upanishads just like pollution. Pollution नाम का कोई शब्द ही नहीं है उन ग्रंथों में। But here now we are really facing a very challenging time. एक समस्या हो तो आदमी झेल लेता है। आज पेड़ इतने कट चुके हैं कि एयर क्वालिटी इंडेक्स 150 है, जो 50 होना चाहिए, 50 होना चाहिए। बहुत दुख होता है कि हम जब शुद्ध वायु ही नहीं ले पा रहे हैं तो हमारे अंग कितने स्वस्थ होंगे, ये भी एक बहुत बड़ा क्वेश्चन मार्क हमारे सामने हो गया है। लेकिन हम प्रयास करेंगे, हमारा प्रयास जारी रहेगा। और मैं फिर IITM यूनिवर्सिटी का भी धन्यवाद देना चाहूंगा कि पिछले 1 दशक से वो लगातार प्रयास कर रहे हैं लोगों को जगाने का कि वो अपनी निद्रा से बाहर आए। They should not just become robots, program robots or walking cops. They are human beings. और ये जो समस्या है इसमें वो एक पथ प्रदर्शक बने, प्रयास करें। आओ हम सब मिलकर, हम सभी लोगों का यही प्रयास होना चाहिए, अपने आप को जगाने का, इस नींद से जगाने का, लोगों को जागृत करने का, अपने आप को ये जो निराशा हताशा का वातावरण है इससे बाहर निकालने का। मैं तो ये देख रहा हूँ कोरोना के बाद आदमी और ज्यादा सेल्फ सेंटर्ड, इगोइस्टिक और सेल्फी लेने वाला हो गया है, जबकि स्थिति उल्टी होनी चाहिए थी। ये मुझे आशा है कि हम जागेंगे, प्रयास हमारा चलेगा। और एक कविता और इसी बीच में पढ़ना चाहूंगा, अगर समय है तो। समय में ज्यादा नहीं लूंगा, इसी के साथ समाप्त करूंगा। कुछ लाइंस लिखी थी। प्रेम विकास की बेला में शंख ध्वनि जगा रही, कदम कदम बढ़े चले गली गली विकास हो, मंगल मैत्री का प्रसार हो, प्रेम ध्वजा पुकार रही, कदम कदम बढ़े चलो प्रेम विकास की बेला में। कोटि कोटि कदम बढ़े ज्ञान के निकुंज में, शांति ध्वजा फहरा रही, जय निनाद कर रहे असंख्य, कर्म कर्म ही हो परमो धर्म, कि हमारा जो कर्म है वही हमारा धर्म हो। और मुझे आशा है जितने हमारे न्यू साइंटिस्ट, स्टूडेंट्स, रिसर्च स्कॉलर्स हैं वो प्रयास करेंगे और हम सब लोग मिलके प्रयास करेंगे। मैं आप सब लोग के साथ हूँ। आपको लगे निराशा हताशा का वातावरण, आप मेरे से संपर्क कर सकते हैं। मैं हमेशा उपलब्ध हूँ। कैरोलिन हाइजिंग हार्ट स्ट्रोक के बावजूद उपलब्ध हैं। तो ये समय है और पूरा विश्व आज भारतवर्ष की तरफ देख रहा है, तो हमें ये हमारा ही वो होना चाहिए कि हम एक सही दिशा, एक सही क्या कहें रोशनी हम दिखा सकें विश्व को, और यही हमारा कर्तव्य है। एंड इन द एंड आई थैंक यू IITM यूनिवर्स, डॉक्टर योगेश गोस्वामी जी, रंजना गोस्वामी जी, डॉक्टर राकेश भूटानी जी, कैरोलिन हाइजिंग, in spite of the serious stroke, she came, she spoke, she blessed us, and it's really our pleasure that she has a great love, respect for not only for India, for Indians, for Gwalior. And I thank you all. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you, Dr. Ram, for giving a very energetic and motivational talk. Really, I can say that it was a really poetic talk, full of different quotes. You have really motivated the students.
Everyone
yes,
is सभी लोगों के अंदर मौजूद है।
या सो मैं यही चीज इसमें बताना चाहूंगा कि आजकल हम अपनी इस भागदौड़ की जिंदगी में हम अपने कल्चर को भूलते चले जा रहे हैं एंड बाय दीज कोट्स एंड पोएम्स यू हैव really recognizing that we have to follow our cultures and we do not have to मतलब हमें अपने रास्ते को भूलना नहीं चाहिए and we have to go towards the right path and right from your starting that inclusion in the environment is degrading we are just degrading our life only by intruding into the environment and you have given a very good example that जब हम घर से बाहर निकलते हैं तो हमें आजकल मेडिकल स्टोर्स और हॉस्पिटल्स नजर आते हैं लाइफ स्पैन हमारा घटता चला जा रहा है आज के कल्चर में you have very beautifully related all these things that where we were and now right now where we are and if आज की तारीख में अगर हम इस चीज को नहीं समझेंगे तो I think our future is not secure. So thank you, Dr. Ram, once again for a very nice session. And the session is open for queries. If anybody is having queries, just write it in the chat box. In the meantime, I just have a very simple query, sir. About the pandemic, nature and pandemic, that what actions can we take to prevent the future outbreaks?
सर देखिए हमारे अंदर छोटी छोटी भावनाएं हमें जगानी पड़ेगी। हमने तो ये कोशिश की अगर हमारे किसी जमीन है तो उसे पौधे और जमीन नहीं है अपार्टमेंट में हम रह रहे हैं तो गमले 20 गमलों हमने क्रांति हमने स्टार्ट की हम गमले देंगे कुछ बोएंगे थोड़ी फ्रेश वेजिटेबल भी हमें उपलब्ध हो जाएगी और थोड़ी तो फ्रेश ऑक्सीजन मिलेगी। अपने हेल्थ पे हमें ध्यान देना है आयुर्वेद की तरफ हमें जाना है एलोपैथी पे हमें ज्यादा डिपेंड नहीं होना है ये हमें ही सर प्रण लेना पड़ेगा नहीं तो बहुत आसानी से हर चीज उपलब्ध है आपके फोन पे आ जाता है कि 999 रुपए में पूरा हेल्थ चेकअप उपलब्ध है। अब आप मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि इतनी जो लेबोरेटरीज उपलब्ध है उन पे किसी ने क्वेश्चन मार्क किया है कि वो उसकी टेस्टिंग कितने सही है। आप एक ही टेस्ट जो है 4 लेबोरेटरीज से कराइए सबका अलग अलग मिलेगा तो ये हमें जगाना पड़ेगा सर अपने आप को। मैंने कहा ना जैसे लोड अपनी शक्ति भूल गए तो हम भूल गए हैं सर उससे जागना पड़ेगा हमें। और कोरोना के बाद तो मैं सर एक स्थिति और देख रहा हूँ आप भी देख रहे होंगे सड़कों पे जिस तरह से लोग बड़ी बड़ी गाड़ियां लेके चल रहे हैं। ये मैंने कैरोलिन से भी पूछा था 10 वर्ष पूर्व ये मेरा एक डिस्कशन था कैरोलिन से और उन्होंने आंसर दिया था कि भारतवर्ष जो मुझे दिखाई दे रहा है वो अमेरिका है जो 60 साल पहले अमेरिका था। तो आप देखिए अमेरिका या अमेरिकन भारतवर्ष क्यों आना चाहते हैं क्योंकि उन्होंने उनके पास हेल्थ नहीं है वेल्थ है हेल्थ नहीं है हैप्पीनेस नहीं है आर्ट ऑफ लिविंग नहीं है फैमिली नहीं है बड़े बड़े जो है पद है प्रतिष्ठा है लेकिन हैप्पीनेस नहीं है। तो उसके लिए प्रोग्रेस के लिए उन्होंने बहुत कुछ खोया है वो आज जाग गए हैं। आज अब उनकी गली गली में जो है मेडिटेशन सेंटर खुल रहे हैं गीता पे प्रवचन हो रहे हैं सत्संग हो रहे हैं। मेरा कहने का ये तात्पर्य तो नहीं है कि आप जो है ये पढ़ाई लिखाई छोड़ के वो उस तरफ चले जाएं लेकिन एक हार्मोनियस बैलेंस जरूर हम बनाने का प्रयास करें। और देखिए आर्ट ऑफ एग्जिस्टेंस की जो लड़ाई है बड़ी होती जा रही है आर्ट ऑफ लिविंग पे हमें आना पड़ेगा। हमारे फेस्टिवल्स हमारी हैप्पीनेस हमारी स्ट्रक्चर रिलेशनशिप्स और हमारी बॉडी सोल माइंड कहीं ना कहीं नहीं रह गई और हम अगर देखें तो हम प्रोग्राम रोबोट्स और वॉकिंग कोप्स ही बन गए।
Thank you, Dr. Ram. I think there is no more questions from the participant sides. So once again, I thank you very much on behalf of ITM Universities and organizers to giving your precious time to deliver this talk. So thank you, Dr. Ram. Thank you very much for the nice session.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I also thank all of you and ITM University, all the organizers, participants, and especially Professor Carolyn Heising. You can saw her face that for 3 दिन तक वो जो है उन्हें हो नहीं था। And another mysterious thing I would like to share with you all the participants, जब उन्हें होश आया तो she start crying, I am a prince। उन्होंने कहा ये बताइए कौन सा वो है पूर्व जन्म कहें क्या कहें। उन्होंने कहा कि मैं जल महल में थी। उन्होंने कभी जल महल देखा भी नहीं। जयपुर के जल महल का उन्होंने फोटो भेजा कि I was in that palace and I was a queen। Caroline, can you please share this incident that you have been unconscious for 3 days and where you were? I would like that all the participants should hear your.
Yes, I had a vision when I was unconscious that I was in the Lal Jahal in Jaipur. And it was amazing. It was a wonderful experience. And I received a diamond, a ruby, and a sapphire from a Maharaja in my vision. So later I went on the internet and I found the Lal Jahal. I had seen it in 2017 when I was in Jaipur. I was invited by my student Ankit Singhal to his wedding, and I had toured around Jaipur, but I never went inside the palace. And in my vision, it was a beautiful golden room, and I found it on the internet. So yeah, I had this really near-death experience that I discussed with my doctors and so on, and they do say that when someone comes back, some of us we see a light. But I had this experience that I was actually in Jaipur in the Lal Jahal, the water palace. So yes, that was, and so of course that's deepening my relationship with India. And maybe my person, some of my Indian students have said I've had a past life. Maybe I had a past life somewhere in Jaipur. I always thought I had a past life up in Uttarakhand in the Almora district. And that's why I'm drawn to Rishikesh. But in my vision, when I had this near-death experience, I was in the Lal Jahal in Jaipur. So who knows? All I can say is that the human mind and our bodies, we're only at the beginning of understanding how the brain works. And so all of you Indian students, you have a lot to contribute in this lifetime, and I know you will solve all the problems. I always say that, especially to Indian engineering students, you're the smartest people on earth. So you have to solve the problems. And you will solve the problems. I know that.
कुछ वैसा है क्या? नहीं जब निकाल मैं तो वैसा कह रहा हूँ टोटल नहीं कोई
Okay.
Thank you, Professor Carolyn and Professor Ram Sharma for this wonderful session. I also thank Professor Rakesh Bhutani for chairing the session. And I hope all the participants will be benefited for this valuable discussion in this special session. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.